back to Cosmic Confluence. I'm your host, Sana, and hear me out. There is a rhythm to entrepreneurship that most business books never talk about. It's not just strategy decks and revenue charts, it's the unseen current beneath it all. The energy we carry into our work shapes the opportunities we attract, the relationships we nurture, and even the setbacks we face. Now, today on this episode of Cosmic Confluence, we are going to peel back the layers with someone who lives at the intersection of human potential and intelligent systems. Listeners, welcome my guest, NaRon Tillman. He isn't just building AI tools for entrepreneurs, he's guiding leaders to align their energy, intention, and vision so that growth feels less like a grind and more like a flow. From 25 plus years of entrepreneurial grit to 2 decades as a spiritual teacher, NaRon bridges soulful leadership with smart automation. And in an age where the hustle can burn us out and AI can speed us up, he's here to ask, how do we slow down enough to build something that actually feeds our soul? And also, we'll get some of the answers as well here. So, with that, Naram, welcome to the show, and I'm really, really excited for our conversation.
Thank you so much. I had to look and see who you was introducing.
You know what, Naram? We all are the heroes and the heroines of our own stories and journeys. So, yeah, everybody is unique, everybody is special. So I really believe, you know, I really feel thankful to introduce each and every guest on all of our shows. So yeah, this is you, and thank you so much, Naran, for being a part of this show. So I'll just begin, with first trying to understand the role of energy in business, because traditionally we look at business as a something, very practical, data and numbers oriented. It's all about profits, it's all about inputs and outputs. So as an entrepreneur, Ron, your energy isn't just personal, it ripples through your team, your clients, and even your brand presence, which is really, really, exciting and interesting. So how do you consciously set or reset your energy before making the big, critical business decisions?
Well, first of all, let's look at the brand, and I'll answer the question. But I'm glad that you said even in our brand setting, because there's a brand that's visible, and that's the way that we make our logos, the way that we send out our emails, the way that we do our websites. But then there's a brand that's invisible, and that's the energy part. So, what I use is a tool that uh, called powered thinking before I go into any meeting, and that's me just reflecting on what am I presenting, not necessarily trying to anticipate the answers of the customer or anything like that, but just making sure that my presentations are tight. Um,
Mhm.
trying to think about any questions that may come up so that I can provide answers on the spot. The one thing that you have to do, and I did this lesson called the mindful marketer on listenable. When we talk about being mindful of our customers, when we look at a customer avatar, we just think about how we're going to sell them, but we're not really, we need to really take more time to think about who they are. And that's where that energy connection comes. This is the laws of attraction, or I have something that they need, but I'm not the only one that has it. So I have to really align with the energy of my customer, and I really have to understand how they feel if they've been hurt before by another salesperson, if they feel like I'm being too pushy, if they feel like I'm not being fast enough. So all those things are feelings, and feelings are energy.
That's true. That's true. And that's a very to me it's very, very crucial, like the connect you establish, because energy cannot be faked. You can fake your achievements, you can fake your accomplishments, you can, kind of mask it by, appearing very happy or jovial or energetic. But I always kind of, I'm also sensitive. I also can get a sense when maybe the client or the person, in fact, my team members, if I'm communicating with them, how are they reacting or how are they responding, or whether they are also, very proactively engaging with what I'm trying to say. Sometimes it can really, put me in a lot of self doubt. Has it happened with you, Naran?
Of course, self-doubt is a part of the process, though. No one comes in. My biggest thing, my first business was construction.
Okay.
So when we, I was, that wasn't something that I loved to do. I didn't really know anything about construction. My business partner, my mentor, who I wound up calling my dad, saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, and he brought me into his business. So when we got into construction, um, my first dealings was commercial. There we measured everything. We it was easier to put a package together because everything was done by square footage,
Yeah.
right? Then you times out by men and days and all that. Yeah, so you can come up with a number. When we got into home improvement, I had to really learn the customer.
Mhm.
Like if you bring me to your house and say I want a new kitchen, I really have to sit down and explore does a new kitchen mean to you, because a new kitchen to you and a new kitchen to my last customer and a new kitchen in the commercial building, it's three different things.
Mm.
So I had to learn how to do kitchens for $1,000 all the way up to what somebody says, hey, I want all the designer tiles, I want all new designer cabinets, I want all new custom stuff. I don't want stuff from Home Depot or Lowe's. I don't want it to be. So that's where the energy comes in understanding that there's not just one cookie cutter for
Mm.
each customer. And sometimes we may be in businesses that doesn't really align with who we are energetically.
Yeah, that makes sense, Naran. That makes sense. And when the stakes are high, I mean, it's so frequent these days. I mean, we are technologically evolving. There's so much happening at each and every front. It's affecting not only at the business end, but also in our personal lives as well. So when the stakes are high, Naran, do you lean into more inner stillness or into high density intensity momentum?
When the stakes get high, I kind of tend to sometimes get a little
Mm.
nervous and start questioning myself. That's my loop. That's my drawback. And that's something that I had to work on, right? Uh,
Mm.
having those conversations when the customer's not really satisfied, right?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
the whole fear of answering the phone and having to have to go back and forth, or having to
Mhm.
chase an invoice, like those things cause the heart to palpitate. But how do we calm ourselves or center ourselves or ground ourselves in those moments? The problem is if we don't have tools to do that, we'll self-medicate. Where
Mm.
we see a lot of entrepreneurs who have addiction problems, whether
Yeah.
alcohol or because they're just trying to get that energy off, right? So they start to get other vices. They may have family issues because they don't really they come home and they had a tough time. They don't really know how to separate, excuse me, or to turn off
Mhm.
that energy, that high volume, that phone is constantly ringing. They're chasing, they're chasing, they're chasing. Because when we're in business for competition and not out of creativity, that's what happens. And me being in New York, fast paced, competitive, I'm looking at what the next person is driving. I'm looking at how this person is looking. I'm looking at that. That energy gets into us and we start to be competitive, and we don't really have that time to value ourselves. We hustle, we move, we walk, we go, we go, we go. But you can be business person of the year and father of the year because we create our own calendars, we create our own time.
Wow, that's really powerful. That's really powerful. I think a lot of founders they can definitely relate to this. When a calendar is packed, your mind is spinning. Situation
Mhm.
not be in your favor. It's really fascinating to know how intentional energy work can shift that entire outcome. I'll be very honest, Naron. So I was into sales and then business development, and now when I'm kind of uh, it's a more of a it's quite uncertain. The times are quite uncertain. Uh, Earlier, I used to really get tensed, sweaty palms, and I used to like stutter. Oh my goodness, that was really scary. But I'm still learning that. Okay, just at that time, I kind of communicate with myself. Okay, take some time, take some deep breaths, have some water. It's kind of like shutting shutting the dam and kind of making the water still, calming myself. And then one of the best method which I really find useful is writing things down. Okay, these are the factors which are affecting. Okay, these are the options available to me. What should I do? That really makes me very calm.
And I'm glad that you brought that up. One of the things, I'm going to go back to power thinking. One of
Mm.
the techniques that I teach executives, if you know you have a huge project or a huge day ahead of you,
Mhm.
or let's say that sales meeting, if you take a few moments before you start your day and just
Okay.
sit before you pick up the phone, before you respond to an email, even before you brush your teeth, just sit with yourself and breathe. But we breathe through the nostril. Nostril based breathing helps to
Mm.
calm the nervous system. When we breathe through our mouths, it actually speeds up the heart rate. That's where we trigger fear, fight, flight, or conflict resolve in the brain. And the brain actually wants to protect us. So it goes into old loop patterns that the brain can't detect if these patterns are good or bad. This is what we do to when we feel threatened. But now imagine, because we don't use our imagination anymore, but imagine that sales call. Imagine the tough parts of the call, but go to the end of the call, your desired result, get that vision in your head, and walk back all of the micro steps, the mini movements that is going to happen in that sales pitch. And when we replay it in our mind, we create what we call our own simulated deja vu. We force the deja vu. It's not like, oh, this happened before. We made it. We intentionally made it happen. And through this repetition, I write about this in my book that's coming out this fall, um, Awakening I Am, Internal Awareness in the Digital Age, or AIH. And we want to be like the same thing with AI. We want to prompt our mind for success. And success doesn't necessarily always mean I'm going to get the deal. But
Mm.
success means that I got through that pitch. And with each pitch I go through, with each time I do these techniques, then it becomes habit, it becomes habitual, and it becomes a part of my repertoire, it becomes a part of my routine. Like a basketball player or some athlete sitting in front of their locker, cutting out the whole world and tying their minds into what it is that they're about to accomplish. Entrepreneurs need to be able to do that too.
Hmm. That's very well said, Naran. And congratulations for your upcoming book. That is super.
Thank you.
Okay, so as you mentioned about AI, and how do you ensure here your energy and your team's energy stays aligned with the systems you automate?
I have to always remind them that why we're doing it. If why can't be money. That's rookies get into business for money. Like, oh, I want to make money. Like that can't be your company's why. That can't be your team's why. Because if why is for money, then the next time somebody gives you a better offer, you're gonna go somewhere else. The why has to come from within. And everybody on the team has to be aligned with why we're here. Or um uh, I always refer to Jesus as the master marketer. If he had thousands of people behind him, and then he gives his mission statement, and he's left with 12 people, And he turns to the 12 people and he says, are you going to leave too? Because if you're not aligned to the mission, then you don't need to be here. We get caught up in having big teams, but we can do more with small teams that are aligned than big teams that's grumbling.
Mm. Wow. Yeah. I really love that. I really love that example. Um, and with this, I also would like to. I'm really curious to know, like, as a spiritual leader and entrepreneur, Naran, how do you reconcile moments when you get that dilemma? The most profitable path isn't aligned, isn't the most aligned one energetically.
It's funny because so my first businesses had nothing to do with mindset, internality, or none of the things. It wasn't until s- a few years ago, probably probably 10 years,
Mhm.
10, maybe 8 to 10 years ago, that I started to see that my value to the world was this stuff that we're talking about. And how now I can take my knowledge of business, my knowledge of marketing, my knowledge of my experience behind a pulpit or microphone in the traditional sense, and craft what I do now. I work with seniors, teaching yoga movements and breath work, trying to give them their mobility back. I teach in inner city schools, and that helped me to really, really look at not just the movement part, not just the motion part, because I separated all of these things, my spirituality, my business mind, and all those things. And I began to now blend these things together. Um, and that blend is germane for today because we're living now in a time when neuroscience is really starting to show people that there is a spirit inside of humanity. And they're no longer pushing that conversation away.
Mm.
AI is opening up opportunities.
Yeah.
When I look at prompt engineering, this is what the book is really about, prompt engineering for AI, because I learned that. And I'm like, whoa, that's the same thing that we do with our subconscious mind.
True. That's true.
So I found a lane where I can take all of my knowledge and be able to feed my family with it.
Mm.
And that's
Mm.
what entrepreneurship is about. It's not about competition, it's about creation. No one can do what I do, and I cannot do what anyone else does. We can all do what we do and what we're designed to do. We're designed uniquely to do what we do, but we don't spend time with our mind to figure out what it is that we do.
That will take a bit of time to understand, but that's very profound. And you know what, Naron, I was on another conversation with another one of my incredible guests, Donzel Legend, and one thing that he mentioned as an entrepreneur, it was more around legacy. Whether it's your team or your family members or you know anyone of on in your acquaintances, um if you are doing something which has a value purpose and you have to put in your valiant efforts into it, then you have to make sure that you are not only um aligned with yourself, but you're also aligned in helping others to get uplifted as well. So
Yeah, th-
mm,
that's a valuable point. But my concepts of legacy may be a little bit different sometimes because we, now again, my first business is construction. I've seen parents struggle to pay for houses
Mhm.
for their kids who reject it, who doesn't want to live in a house. Like, and they're like, oh, I'm leaving this for my kids, but you don't know what our kids, or we don't know what our team is
Mhm.
going to do when we're gone. So I'm like, how can I be highly impactful
Okay.
while I'm here, and I'll leave for other people to find out how they can be impactful when I'm gone. Because my son, doesn't want to do what I'm doing. He wants to do something else, and I'm not going to force him. But I will support him in doing what he does. My daughter is a musician, and I used to do music too. So, but I'm not going to force them to to do what I do. I used to try to make everybody a business owner, but that's business is not for everyone.
That is also true. Yeah, I agree. I agree. And even I was in a huge dilemma with this question: is entrepreneurship or business for everyone? I had asked few of my friends. One of them answered, I am aware that I won't be able to be in that position to have an accountability to that everybody's livelihoods depend on me, and I'm better suited in a more kind of a corporate setting, in a 9 to 5 setting. uh,
Hmm.
so that's a kind of self-awareness that I really really appreciate, that not just to be in a trend or not just following a trend, that everybody's now into entrepreneurship or getting business minded. You are.
During COVID, everybody became a coach,
Yeah.
and because they didn't really have said they didn't really have to go nowhere, and the check was coming in the mail, right? Now COVID is over, the check stopped coming, everybody went back to work. Now the real coaches can really coach, and the real podcasters can podcast.
Awesome, awesome. And before we wrap up, NaRon, if our listeners they would like to connect with you, get a hold of your podcast, and I'm very sure they'll be looking forward to your upcoming book as well. What would be the best way?
So walkinvictory.me is the website. It's still a little under construction because it was kind of all over the place. Now I have a very clear vision about what what the website is going to look like. So I'm excited about that. Probably by the time the show's out, that website will be crisp and clean right now. And then uh Walk in Victory is the name of the podcast. We also have a podcast called Why and How Online, and that Walk in Victory is for entrepreneurs. Why and How Online is for entrepreneurs also, but it's just really centered around dealing with your online presence, why and how that's important. And then I also have a One Ministries Network podcast, and that's just me preaching every Sunday. So it's got something for everybody.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'll make sure to have the details in the show notes. And NaRon, this was really, really a very, I think very practical and very insightful conversation, because uh, what I believe is scaling a business, it doesn't have to mean scaling our stress. It can mean scaling our clarity, our alignment, and of course, our inner peace. So, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This was a very, very great conversation.
Absolutely. And to all the listeners out there, entrepreneurship isn't just a business journey, it is an energy journey. Every pitch, every partnership, every pivot is influenced not just by our skills, but by the state of our inner world. And to connect with NaRon, just go to the show notes, listeners, along with this episode on your favorite podcast platform. Until next time, I urge all of you to stay curious, stay connected, and please, please remember that your business runs on the energy you bring to it. With this is your host, Sana, signing off from Cosmic Confluence. Thank you.